Welcome to The Soul Space, the podcast that inspires you to discover your truth, ignite your passion, and align your life with the power of who you really are. I'm Georgia Rose, psychic astrologer. I share the cosmic roadmap that guided me through astrology, tarot, and inner knowing into authentic living. I'm here to help you decode your soul's cosmic story, reconnect with your passion, and create the life you are meant to live. It all starts within, and it all starts now in the soul space. Hey everybody, it's Georgia Rose. I'm in the soul space. It is Monday at 7 o'clock, and I'm a little confused. It's not Pisces. It's not Neptune. It could be, though, because Neptune is in the last degrees of Pisces, and we're going to talk all about that tonight. But I think I'm mostly confused because I walked into the studio, and it was all different tonight. Bobby pulled a fast one on me, and if I look like I'm in a different place, I'm actually in the same room, completely rearranged. He upgraded everything. We've got the best of everything here now at Paradise Studios in beautiful Massapequa, Long Island. I've got the best microphones, the best cameras, the best everything. And of course, because the last set was a little bit darker, I didn't really do set makeup tonight, but I hope I look good enough for you guys. So if you're just listening, then it doesn't matter. But if you're watching, it might matter a little bit. So welcome, everybody. I hope that you are happy to be in the soul space with me tonight. We're going to talk all about Neptune, the planet of, how can I describe Neptune? Neptune is the planet of illusions and delusions and fantasy, addictions, and connecting with other realms. So if you have a very Piscean chart, you probably have a lot of Neptune energy. Neptune rules Pisces. So I had a pretty good week, I have to say, although I will say that new moon that happened on December 4th, or full moon that happened on December 4th, I had so much anxiety. Last Tuesday, I don't know what the heck happened. It was like something definitely unconsciously was going on. But my good friend Yvonne hooked me up. She did a process on me with a little bit of meditation and a little bit of hypnosis, and I am perfection right now. Yep. So I'll give everybody a few minutes to just pile into the soul space. We're going to talk about Neptune and a little bit. I'd love to hear how your weeks went. Want to hear what you guys are experiencing in this energy. We have a lot of planets at the last degrees of signs. We have a lot of planets retrograde. We have planets slowly coming out of retrograde. Neptune, planet we're going to be talking about mostly tonight, is coming off a 14-year run in Pisces. So think back to 2011 tonight. And while you guys put on your thinking caps and think back to 2011, I'm going to run some cosmic comedy. It's time for cosmic comedy, where Mercury retrograde is the main character, the lunations are loony, and the stars are a punchline.
I'm gonna work through the entire night to make sure that everybody is happy with presents. But if you were naughty, then you. The Who's down in Whoville know what they did to me years ago. I'm gonna take away their joy. Did you pack your gloves?
Yes.
Food for the reindeer?
Yeah.
Lactate for the cookies?
Yep.
The toys? Santa, the toys? Hey guys, pretty sure I'm gonna die soon, so let's have some fun!
Hey, I see what you're up to. I'm not gonna make a big deal about it, but I am keeping it up here.
Oh my gosh, did I make you cold? Oh, I'm so sorry, girl. I'm just trying to have some fun over here and I must have nipped you. You better get inside now, though, because you could die. Oops. What is this, Christmas? Never heard of it before, but I'm about to be the best at it. Everybody look at me! Yeah, I don't really need gifts for Christmas, just cash, please. Okay, everyone, I know it's one stormy Christmas Eve, and I know your feelings about me, but I don't care. If you can form 2 lines, I'm gonna get us through this thing because it has to get done and because I'm awesome.
Come, let me take you to a magical city, introduce you to my friends, and dance with you all night long.
Whoa, as a friend. I just want to go to sleep, do absolutely no work, and wake up to lavish gifts. Call me quirky, but I like to do things a little differently on Christmas.
So there you have it. That's how your whole family is going to be reacting to the holidays based on their zodiac sign. So you're welcome. All you have to do is read everybody's chart. You'll know exactly what to get them and how to act on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. It'll be great. So we're going to talk about Neptune. Neptune is the planet of dreams, illusions, and evolutionary truth. So I was thinking about this today when I was preparing for the show, and I realized that what I'm hearing from a lot of people is it's almost like we suddenly woke up. Like all of the gaslighting that we've been subjected to for the last 14 years, suddenly we see through it. We're suddenly seeing truth. I think that's a lot to do with the fact that we have a lot of planets in Sagittarius, which is all about truth. But in regards to Neptune, I think it's because Neptune is like coming out of the water. Neptune's headed for Aries, which is a fire sign. It's going to be in there in January. So for the next couple of weeks, we have our final time to tie up all of the loose ends of the last 14 years where Neptune's been in Pisces since 2011. I can speak from personal experience that 2011 was not a very good year for me. But boy, the wisdom and everything that I have learned since then has been unbelievably off the charts. So first, I'm going to talk about the archetype of Neptune. Neptune is a planet that dissolves things. When I look in the chart of where Pisces energy or Neptune energy is, because Neptune rules Pisces, I think in that space of the chart is where someone is going to be becoming unbound. Because Neptune is a planet, it's a very gassy planet. It's a planet that will float around unless it has some kind of gravitational pull from the planet that's next to it, which happens to be Saturn. Saturn, remember we talk about all the time, is structure in the zodiac. So Neptune is the ethereal planet. It's every time I study Neptune or I take a class about Neptune or I look at Neptune in a different way, it's confusing for me because Neptune is not anything grounded. It's not tangible. If you look at someone who has a lot of Pisces energy in the chart, it's not that they're distracted easily like a Gemini, but they're just very floaty. They like to go off into fantasy a lot. A lot of times when we see people with a lot of potent Neptune or a lot of Pisces energy in the chart, that person will be prone to some kind of an addiction or fantasy-like behavior. Now, that could also embody the person in a sense of like, if you ever see a child or a teenager who likes to watch video games all the time, that's fantasy, that's escapism, it's becoming unbound. Pisces, Neptune energy in the chart also can be a place of transcendence because we have an imagination that just is not bounded by anything. It's completely unbound. Think about if you had a book, which is tangible, right? A book has pages and letters on the page. But what if it didn't have a binding? It had nothing that was a boundary for it. It would just float everywhere and it would be hard to read and hard to understand and it would just be very ethereal. And the only way you could really understand that book would be to feel into the pages of it. And that's Pisces energy. It wants to feel things. It wants to connect. Pisces in its highest level of frequency is about connection and spiritual connection and connecting with other realms. It's about that feeling we get when we're all one. And for those of you who meditate, you know that feeling of being one with the earth, of feeling all of the structure kind of float away. And now we're kind of what I always call flying with the angels. That's a very Neptunian thing. And if you think about that, in that regard, Neptune teaches us surrender. Because if you're floating out in space and just floating, if you're a book with no binding and you're floating, you would just have to surrender to that because you would have no alternative. There's no structure to hold on to or grasp for. So you have to surrender into the vastness of that. So Neptune energy is the energy of deeper meaning, the oneness, the true meaning, returning to source, the source that made us, the source that created everything spiritually. But it's also the place in the chart, not just where we have the ability to connect into deep meaning. It's also the polarization, the opposite of that. It's the place in the chart where sometimes we experience nothingness, meaninglessness, the abyss, because Pisces dissolves everything. And Neptune, the ruler of Pisces, is an energy that will just dissolve. If anyone's ever gone through a breakup, maybe it's happened unexpectedly, a very Uranian moment, right? That sudden, unexpected thing. But when we're in it and everything's just become completely unbound and we're confused and we don't know which way is up and which way is down, that requires the surrender into the abyss, into the Piscean, Neptunian energy of nothingness. And when we do that and we can completely surrender and give ourselves over to that, that's when we find source and we become one with everything because everything starts from nothing. So it's really about returning to the vastness of spirit, of God energy, if that's the word you like to use. In evolutionary astrology, which is the type of astrology that I do, Neptune teaches us that surrender. It teaches us compassion. And it teaches us the art of seeing beyond the veil, beyond the structure. And it teaches us that we don't need the structure to be happy, to be content, to trust and understand. So we're going to talk a little bit tonight about taking that into our lives. And if this seems abstract, it's because it's Neptune. It's Pisces. It's supposed to be abstract. The way I could explain it that everyone maybe would understand, like I always say to people when I don't understand something, I always say, explain it to me like I'm a 5-year-old. So not that you guys are 5, but I'm going to just explain it the way I like to envision it that makes sense for me. So Saturn holds the structure of Neptune, because if Neptune didn't eventually float into Saturn's orbit, it would just float around the galaxy willy-nilly with no direction and no trajectory. So Saturn is structure. So Neptune is the ethereal. It's the permeation. It's the impermanence. It's the dissolution of structure. So think about your favorite perfume or your favorite scent. It comes in a bottle, right? Or it comes in some kind of a dispenser. That's Saturn. It gives it the structure to exist. Without the structure, it would just be out in the air and we couldn't utilize it. It would be hard. You'd have to, like some people spray perfume and walk through it in order to get the scent on them. But it has to be contained in order to be useful. So Neptune is the perfume. It's the ethereal. It's the sensory. It's just there. It's just out there. And we can try to define it, but it's going to be different for everybody. But Saturn is the structure that holds Neptune so that we can utilize it. We can experience it. So what usually happens when we're having a big Piscean, Neptunian transit or something happening in the chart there is we experience something becoming unbound in our life. And where we feel like, where have I been taken to? This is a strange place. I don't know what this is. And that has pretty much summed up the last 14 years for a lot of us, right? There's been so many changes and so many rapid deviations of everything, every structure that we ever had, that the Neptunian energy has just been in full force for us. But why is that? Well, it's so that we can return to source and understand that the structures that hold all these things in our life aren't as important as what's within them and the meaningfulness of them. When we focus on just the structure, what eventually happens in most lives is we reach a place of meaninglessness because we focused on the structure and not the within. Neptune is within. And so we begin tonight, just take a deep breath and imagine yourself floating in a vast, vast ocean, because Neptune is water, Pisces is a water sign. And let those waves of the ocean carry you beyond the limits of structure, beyond the limits of ego. This is Neptune's realm. Beyond it all. Out of bounds, floating, seeing beauty, seeing some scary things, but knowing it's going to transcend you because it's the journey to oneness. And in order to get there, we have to drop the material world because the material world is like a block from the oneness. So Neptune dissolves the material world. It dissolves the ego. It dissolves structures. And most of all, what we've been seeing in the last 14 years is it dissolves false identities, those roles that we have to play, those obligations, those conditions, the illusions that we cling to because our ego thinks it has to belong to something. Let me wear these clothes that everyone else does. I need the Gucci belt. I need the Gucci Marmont bag or, something that everyone has because that's going to make me belong. Neptune dissolves those things to make you understand the place you belong is in the vastness of oneness with spirit. It's like when you're in yoga or deep meditation, you feel your body float off and you're just this light being. That's Neptune. So Neptune invites us into a unity consciousness that we're all one. When I do a Reiki session for my ladies who are breast cancer survivors and gynecological cancer survivors and in treatment and people suffering. And I do this every month for my coalition. And at the end of every Reiki session where they're in meditation, before I bring them out of the meditation, I have them all join hands. And I have them do a heart link from their heart into the middle of the circle and then back again and spreading it all through their hands. And I can guarantee you that every single time we do that, the unity is felt, the oneness is felt. Think about a time when you felt that. It may be in church when everyone's singing. It may be just witnessing something unbelievably spiritual with other people. It could even be a rock concert and the music carries you and all of a sudden you're getting that feeling. Or maybe if you're a performer and you play music, there's this thing that happens when you look out of the audience and everybody's in sync. That is unity consciousness. I remember, I'll always hold this memory very, very dear, even though now it's not really significant in my life, but it taught me something in the moment about unity consciousness. And it was on my wedding day to my ex-husband, Mark. And we had cut the cake, and all of a sudden they started playing a song that we had chosen. It was a song that was very meaningful to us. And everyone put us in this circle, and they all started to, like, in a ring around us, dance. And everyone was like singing this song, and he and I were in the middle. And I felt these waves of love coming through the circle from all of our friends and family. And in that moment, knowing that they were just putting love there and wishing us that. And the moment is significant not because of who I was with or what the occasion was. The moment is significant because in my spiritual journey, in my spiritual arc of development, that moment has always stuck with me as feeling oneness with a really big group of people and knowing we were all in the same wavelength of frequency. Sometimes it happens for certain people at ball games or in church, like I said, or in meditation. I know it's happened with me, with my yoga teacher, Jackie, when we have, put our hands together, eyes closed, and can't feel each other, but we knew each other's energy and we're working in unison. And it was one of the biggest highs of my life. And so that's unity consciousness. We're all one on some level because we're all linked by the energy that created us. That's Neptune. And so Neptune also, it's part of the greater whole, and it teaches us that we are part of a greater whole. But Neptune also has a shadow, and it's confusion, it's escapism, whether it's video games or sex or alcohol or food or whatever. These things that we do and we worship that are in the material world, these are things that teach us that make us feel rather that we're separate when we're not. They add to the anxiety. That's the shadow side of Neptune, because although Neptune teaches us unity consciousness and that we're all one, it does that by stripping away the illusion that this outfit's going to make you one with someone, or if I look a certain way, this person will like me, or I have to drive this car in order to be a member of this group, or I have to believe this way culturally, or I'll be disowned or exiled. It destroys that illusion. And so when it does that, it creates a situation, it creates feelings that are hard for people to embody because we become fearful when the thing that we have always believed in, the thing that was our ground and our anchor, is stripped away. And this is what you've been seeing playing out while Neptune's been in Pisces all through this last 14 years, and especially in the last few years when Saturn was also there with Neptune. Because now you had structure coming against this ethereal, unbound energy. And Saturn in the chart wants us to look at where we need to respond to our ability, responsibility. That's what the word means. Respond to your ability, responsibility, Saturn. And Neptune wants us to be in this beautiful place of oneness. So when those two energies get together, it pulls apart the structures because Neptune wants us to have that higher power of unity. And so when they both go into Aries, which is a fire sign, they're going to work together to give structure to our imagination, to our fantasy, to our oneness. But the last few years, because Neptune's been stripping away these illusions that, we have to embody a materialistic society, we have to embody a culture that makes us feel less than in order to try and belong, has been stripped away. And for a lot of people, those were deep belief systems, political belief systems, religious belief systems, even belief systems about education and structures to do with that. And you see so many people now coming out being very, very polarized about AI. It's like the devil to some people. It's a tool. It's meant to be a tool. But it's because now the way that we've always learned has been stripped away. And some people get very squirrely when their belief systems are stripped away. And so there's going to be a contingent of people in this energy, which I'm sure we've all seen. We've seen it played out all over the tube and the globe, that really don't know how to live when those structures dissolve. And so what happens is, for the majority of people, they don't know how to live independently of those belief systems. And so you see people flailing. You see people kind of chaotic, not knowing what to believe in. And so when you look for Neptune in the chart, and I'm going to go over for you guys where you see it in the charts, where Neptune is for you guys in what house and what sign. But Neptune in the chart is Neptune, remember, like Poseidon, Neptune, they have a triton. It's like a sphere. I don't know if Bobby has the symbol. We'll put it up on the screen. And if you look for wherever this is in your chart, or a reasonable facsimile of what this looks like in your chart, this is, you just passed it, Bob. It's right there. This is what to look for. This is where Neptune is in your chart. There's the symbol for the planet Neptune. Okay, guys? So it's like, just a triton, which is like a three-pronged spear. And as you can see, this symbol has a cross in it and 3 arrows going up, which symbolize the Trinity. Neptune, Pisces energy is all about the fact that we are all one. This is also very symbolic of a fleur-de-lis to me. And I have fleur-de-lis engraved in the lintels in my entryway of my home, which I had done. And it's a manifestation of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit is all bound by one energy. You can see on the bottom that little ring, right? And this is also male and female coming together, because without the feminine energy, there could be no Father, Son, and Spirit. So it's all about we are all one. Every species believes in this and should believe in this. So when you think of Neptune as Poseidon, the ruler of the seas, you have that idea of that vast ocean, which I just said, let's all go to this vast ocean. But it's also sometimes mysterious and stormy. And that's what we've seen in the last 5 years, especially since COVID. Because I believe COVID was a very Neptunian energy. We couldn't see it. We sure felt it. We were afraid of it. It busted a lot of our illusions about what could happen in the world and what couldn't. And COVID also, Neptune in that area of the charts, really brought down a lot of structure. COVID destroyed a lot of structure, right? That virus that went global. So that's why it encourages us to surrender, because you'll find that surrender is a place of healing when we go into the energy of allowing ourselves to be unbound for a little while. And maybe we're not lost, right? All who wander are not lost, right? Great bumper sticker. We're just going to be in the oneness for a little while. We're searching for the oneness, and we will find it if we surrender to it, because it's there. It's always there inside of us. That's the soul space. That's your fire, your spiritual fire. And that's what Neptune going into the fire sign Aries in January is all about, spiritual fire. Because now all of the places that have become unbound in our life, that we have wisdom from, that we understand there's been a higher power, orchestrating all of this all along. We just have to link with it. Now that becomes structured, especially when Saturn goes into Aries. That's around March of 2026. But first we have Neptune going into Aries. And when it does, it will allow us everything we've dreamed about, everything we've imagined, to be able to now see its structure. And so this past weekend, I was thinking about the gaslighting that we've all been subjected to, right? We've all had like a lot of gaslighting, especially in these last 10, 14 years. And all of a sudden it's like we've all just, boom, woke up. Boom, we all just woke up. It's like all of a sudden we see it. Like, I'm being gaslit. Like, that's not true. And it's not even that we're upset about it or angry about it. It's like we've surrendered it. Like, I know that's not true, but that's not part of who I am anymore. It doesn't bother me because I know it's no longer true. And it seems very simplified, but that's really what's happening all around us. There are people waking up from a long winter's nap, and we're becoming aware of, why was I so upset about that? It has no significance because it's not true. We're having this feeling about belief systems, structures in our lives, the places we want to go. Like, I even woke up one morning a couple weeks ago and I was like, I don't have to live in this house. I've been living in my house for over 23 years. And I always feel like, oh, I got to keep it up. I got to do this, got to do that. And then all of a sudden I woke up one morning and I was like, wait a minute. I don't have to live here. I don't have to be in this structure. I don't have to be in any structure. I could travel and couch surf for a few years, right? Don't think I'm doing that. But where would that notion come from? Neptune in Aries. Neptune headed for Aries. We can feel the energy already. It's going direct Wednesday, guys, in the last degree of Pisces. It's going to sit there for a couple weeks. Why? Because it's going to bring back all the 14-year lessons so that now, in a different mindset, because we have all the wisdom of 14 years in Pisces, now we can say, oh, this is where I want to go. Instead of, no, I got to do it this way. Everybody expects me to do it this way. I really, if I don't do it this way, I don't want to ruin Christmas. I got to cook the turkey. Oh, I would really rather prefer a lasagna, but I know everyone's going to want turkey, so let me cook the turkey. Now we're like, hey, I woke up this morning. I feel like I'm going to cook lasagna. And of course, I'm just using silly examples, but you get the picture. So I'm going to talk about Neptune in the birth chart, but first I just want to go over a couple of more things because this is really important. So think about that perfume bottle, right? Neptune's the perfume, Saturn's the bottle, right? You got structure where we'll use it, spray it where we want because Saturn's holding it in place for us. Well, when Neptune starts to break the illusion, like using that example, what if the perfume no longer broke the bottle? It came out of the bottle like genie smoke, right? There's a lot of people in the world who would be really upset. Me, I'd be like, wow, this is really cool. I want to, feel what this smoke feels like. I want to see what it does. I want to, what color is it? What does it smell like? Like, where's it going to go? That's me. And probably some of you. But if you're not stable in your own energy and you're not stable in your independent agency of who you really are, you're going to panic and be like, oh my God, that's not the perfume I use. What's going to happen now? I want the perfume. I wanted to put it like here. Now I can't reach it. I can't get it. I'm going to be out of it. It'll be somewhere else. It won't be mine. What am I going to do? Right? And that's what we're experiencing in the world right now. There's people who have agency, who have an inner strength that when the illusion is busted, say, oh, that's what that was. Well, that's okay because I can pivot and I can figure out something. And then you have people who are like, oh my God, I need it to go back the way it was. And it's never going to go back the way it was. You can't put the perfume back in the bottle. It's a scent. It has alcohol in it. Even if it spills, it evaporates. It's gone, right? That's Neptune. Can't put it back in the bottle. It's ethereal. It's our belief system. In Aries, which is fire, unlike in Pisces from the last 14 years, now Neptune in Aries is about the embodiment of what's not structured, what is out of bounds, what is ethereal. Now in Aries, it's about how can I take my belief system that is truly mine, not what everyone else told me for it to be. I can say to myself, I want to embody it now in an independent way. And we go from, I have my notes, we go from belief because someone told us to believe something. We go from that to knowing. And there's a big difference from belief to knowing. Knowing you feel inside. You feel it in your core. You feel it in your soul space. You feel it in your spiritual fire. Belief system, it's there, but you're curious and questioning. I believe this. Oh, do you really? So now Neptune in Aries, which is going to be till 2033, is all about us coming into our spiritual fire, our soul fire, the place where we have knowingness, not nothingness. For some people, this will bring them further away from their soul space because they'll want things to go back the way they were. And when things don't go back the way they were, people will start to find things to believe in with other people. They need a shared fantasy. You see that politically now, especially in my country, where there are people who want things to go back to the way they were, like in the 1960s, 70s, 40s, whatever. And they're stuck on that, and they will find other people to support their belief systems. And I'm not here to bash anybody's belief systems. You can believe in whatever you want as long as you believe in something. But what will happen is now people will look for people to share their fantasy because they're terrified of the collapses. And as the foundations of their belief systems collapse, they need to fight for a cause in order to feel meaningful because they're not strong enough in their own inner agency to go into the meaninglessness. And like Sarah just put online before how she's felt extremely displaced for months, I was like that at the beginning of this year. That meaninglessness is because your Neptune is dissolving the illusions. It's dissolving the structures. And for a little while we float. We're in this psychic drift. But the way that the drift doesn't take us over is when we surrender to it. Because even though it feels like drift, it's bringing us somewhere. We just don't know it at the time. That's Neptune. That's why you float on the ocean. Let the waves carry you beyond without fear. Because beyond is the gift. And for some people, that's terrifying, and they can't do it. It's almost like a learned process for those of us who are in a very high spiritual place, where there's a point in meditation where the fear comes out. You will be in the underworld. Can you live in the abyss for a little while and know you're perfectly safe because you are never alone? You're always with the higher power in your soul space, which is God energy. And when you have that agency, you know that you can swim through the abyss. There's a higher power there for you. And this is really deep stuff because Neptune is deep. Neptune is the vast underwater and the swimming for the surface and breaking it so you can gasp and breathe. So there are certain people who can't cross the threshold into the nothingness and back again. They're too afraid of it. And those are the people that you see joining these clusters of groups in order to support a belief system because that's what makes them meaningful. But the belief system is an illusion. So what you want to understand about Neptune is that the shared ideals are actually externalizing human nature's need for a collective consciousness. But what you really want is the unity consciousness of Neptune. Everybody in, nobody out. Everybody's one, nobody's better than another. But what plays out in the world because of fear is a collective consciousness. Let's all wear this outfit. Let's all get the Gucci belt. Let's all have the Marmont. Let's all drive the really expensive car. Let's all get the Meta glasses. I'm going to belong because it's going to feel meaningful. But then Neptune comes in, destroys the illusion, and you're back to the meaninglessness again. Because there's no substance. Neptune doesn't require the fake substance, the false identity. Neptune requires the return to source. And sometimes we have to drift in a little bit of meaninglessness to get that. Neptune is every one of us having a different story, not the same story. Neptune's going to work with Pluto in Aquarius for the next lot of years, almost 20, 30 years, because it wants us to embody our interconnection. It wants us to embody our intuition. Neptune is the knowingness, not the spiritual idealism. not the spiritual bypassing. It's the spiritual embodiment of intuition as knowingness. And the way you get that is you feed your intuition, you work with your higher self, and you get to a place where you're independently in your own agency. So I'm going to do really quick Neptune through the chart. So you're going to look like that. Look at that Triton, Poseidon's spear. Okay, if you have Neptune, if you have that spear emblem in Aries, it's going to dissolve your self-assertion, but it's going to invite in the spiritual warrior. Neptune in Aries is going, or in the first house, is going to give you spiritual identity. It will dissolve your identity that you've been handed. It will dissolve the identity, or if it's transiting Aries or your first house, it will dissolve what you think is your role in the world. And you'll drift for a little while. You'll be in the nothingness. You'll be in the abyss. And then it will reveal to you your true identity. In Taurus in the second house, in Taurus or in the second house, it's going to dissolve your attachment to material security. Now, sometimes that will happen by having a huge financial reversal or losing a home or something like that. But it's to teach us our spiritual values. I lost everything in the beginning of 2011. Friends, people, businesses, money. I had to come back from it. We had a tremendous superstorm in my area where houses were like demolished. I sell houses for a living. That was Neptune coming in, wrecking ball. But where it led me to was my spiritual values. No one goes to church when they win lotto. They go to church when they're really in deprivation. Just a thing. In Gemini, or the third house, this is going to dissolve some form of communication. It will dissolve your attachment to chatter. Maybe you're a gossip and something will happen that will really be a life lesson about it in order to bring you to a more divine communication, to bring you to the connection of communication. I am a third house Pisces, and for me, when all of this energy was there, it really changed the way that I communicated. I started to do a podcast in the last 5 years. I started to let my own spiritual awakening come through because that was really my divine communication. In Cancer or the fourth house, it's going to dissolve your family conditioning. What is family conditioning? We always have Christmas Eve, but I want to go on vacation. But we always give presents on Christmas Eve. Well, I want to do Christmas breakfast on Christmas Day this year. Things like that. Or it could be even deeper. Maybe you were brought up Jewish and now you are embracing the Christ energy. It could be anything, but it's going to be whatever is your family conditioning. If you have Neptune in Cancer, transiting Cancer, or in the fourth house, transiting, it is going to bring you also to dissolving that family conditioning in order for you to be in a universal compassion of being accepting of, this is what my family believes and it's beautiful, but that's not what I believe. In Leo, it dissolves ego-driven creativity. In other words, the power of love is much more potent than the love of power. So if you have Neptune in Leo, it's going to dissolve those power urges, those dominating bad way that you create. And it's going to channel some divine inspiration for you. But it could be that you lose, a stage or a someplace you present, or someplace that, in the world stage, or people even, because you've been too dominant, and Neptune will come in and show you that. In Virgo or the sixth house, it's going to dissolve your perfectionism and teach you humility and service. So if you are someone who has to have everything perfect, and then you want to use that as a look at me kind of a thing, it's going to dissolve that. You're going to start making mistakes, or it's going to show you mistakes, or you're going to have a very public mistake in order to teach you humility and what's really important. In Libra, the seventh house, it's going to be relationships. It will dissolve any superficial relationship in order to bring you to a soul level union. And that's really important, because if Neptune's transiting your seventh house, even if you're in illusion that this relationship is great and it really isn't, it's probably going to be dissolved. And you will be left with the wreckage for a little while. But what you're going to find is your own ability to be in relationship in a much deeper way, and then the real person will come in. If it's in Scorpio or the 8th house, Neptune, it will dissolve control. It will also bring to the surface a lot of things with betrayals, abandonments, in order for you to have to face the ashes and rise above it, bringing you into complete transformation. In Scorpio, in the 8th house, Neptune there, and I do have Neptune there, it's all about bringing you to your knees in order to show you that you still have the strength to navigate life through your spiritual soul space. In Sagittarius, in the 9th house, it's going to dissolve dogma. This is all about your belief systems. It's going to dissolve anything that is not quite true to your authenticity in order to build your universal truth and open you to other things. When Neptune was transiting my 9th house and Sagittarius, I suddenly no longer believed in Catholicism, even though I do love the rituals of communion and certain sacraments, which will always be dear to me. I realized when I sit in church, I feel fear among the people. I'm not fearful, but I feel fear among people there, just my personal experience. And so I suddenly realized the universal truth on the dogma for me and became much more interested in the occult, astrology, spirituality, Buddhism, yoga, things like that. In Capricorn, the 10th house, it's going to dissolve very rigid structures. Typically, when Neptune is in a 10th house or Capricorn or transiting those areas of the chart, you'll see someone maybe who was like really rose in some kind of very structured external life, like a school principal rising from the ranks, administration, or someone who's a police officer in the military, or maybe even a doctor or medical field where everything is really structured. And all of a sudden they'll just like decide, or something will happen with their career, and they'll be like, you know what, I'm buying a pair of flip-flops and a Hawaiian shirt, and I'm going on a Jimmy Buffett tour for a year. It's like, that's the kind of stuff, because what'll happen is it'll put them into a spiritual place of authority where they become led by their spirit instead of the structure of their life. In Aquarius, it dissolves detachment and embodies collective vision. So in Aquarius, or the 11th house, that is where you're going to find you now will embrace your uniqueness, where before maybe you had to detach because you never felt like you belonged, or you felt like an outsider, and you almost felt imprisoned by that. When Neptune transits Aquarius or the 11th house, you will find yourself embodying a collective vision that your uniqueness is embraced by you, but also you will embrace other people's uniqueness, where perhaps in the past you felt like there was an exclusivity to a group of people, like all the purple dinosaurs have to be in this place because we're all purple dinosaurs. And now when Neptune transits that, it will dissolve that illusion, and you will still be this beautiful purple dinosaur, but you'll be among everyone who accepts you, and vice versa. And finally, if you have Neptune in Pisces, its home sign, where it is the most potent, it will dissolve boundaries entirely. And this is where we see people who really, a lot of times, are very deep in addiction or fantasy, taboo things sometimes, but they'll do things that really bring them out of the world. They're like otherworldly. The higher octave of that, of course, is divine connection, being somewhat, psychic, or somewhat able to meditate easily, or have an imagination like Dr. Seuss, and where you just go into this beautiful place of imagination. But if you do have Pisces 12th house or Neptune in the 12th house, a lot of times it can be a very addictive, fantastical, escapism person who just likes to escape or tune people out. Like a typical Neptune in Pisces person will be somebody that just doesn't hear anyone talking to them because they're someplace else, So in closing, where Neptune has been for the last 14 years, we've also seen a spiritual renaissance. That's where everyone's become a healer, everyone's a psychic, everyone does cards. I went online today just to look at astrology videos to see who's out there doing what. And I have to tell you, I'm just going to put it out there. This is what I believe and what I know is true. This show is better than a lot of people out there getting 100,000 views. I couldn't believe the crap that is out there. So Neptune brought us that in Pisces. It was like everyone was on the spiritual bandwagon. In 2011, people would whisper, I do tarot. Oh, I think I'm psychic. Don't think I'm crazy. Now, 2020, 25, going into 2026, it's, I'm getting something. I got a download last night. I had a vision. I thought this or this. And everyone's like, oh yeah, really? Oh my God, I had the same one. I was thinking the same thing. In a spiritual renaissance. How beautiful is it that we're all so open now, right? Beautiful, beautiful. But of course, that also leads the way to illusion, because a lot of people think they're gifted and they're really not. And also a lot of spiritual people, quote unquote, using that in air quotes, are performance. They're just performance artists. They're out there performing for the camera to get views and make money off of cyberspace. Very Neptunian, but you have to really discern through your own spiritual authority what's real and what's not. So Pisces dissolves everything. We've seen the rise of all that fantasy, the streaming, all that stuff. In Aries, it's going to bring structure to that. That's why you're seeing AI. It's very Neptunian that everything is not real, but now it's structured into an AI program. Totally Neptune in Aries. So when you're thinking about Neptune in your chart, and it's a really good week to meditate on Neptune energy, because Neptune goes direct Wednesday and it's headed for Aries in January, I think January 26th. So you only have about 3 weeks or so to or a little more, maybe 4 or 5 weeks to work with this energy and clear up the crumbs in Pisces. Because I'm going to tell you, if you don't get it, something drastic will happen to let you know what you were supposed to understand for the last 14 years. And I think most of you get it. So some things to work with when you're meditating on on Neptune energy and Neptune in Pisces over the last 14 years is think about where it is in your birth chart. How does it show up in your life story based on the little things that I just said? And what illusions have you surrendered in the last 14 years while Neptune was in Pisces? Think back to 2011, who you were then, and what illusions are completely busted now in your life. And then ask yourself, when have I confused escapism with spirituality? And what practices do I have that help me discern illusion from truth? And what does acting with compassion mean to you? Because that's what Neptune teaches us, is all about compassion. And so I'm going to leave you guys with that. And as a closing invitation, as Neptune shifts from Pisces to Aries, January 26th is the day it actually goes in, but you've got the next few weeks to work with it. We're invited to move from dreaming to doing. Put in place those structures that you really need to in order to bring yourself to a better place of spiritual independence, authority over your belief systems and your truth. And whatever is dissolving, allow it the journey it needs to go to, from dissolving to igniting. And, journal. Think about where's your soul growth? Where's your embodiment? Where's your insights? And next week, we'll be back a little bit more. Next week, I'm going to start talking a little bit about what to expect in 2026. And we'll probably end the month with some cards on the following week of your 2026 tarot. So thank you all for tuning in. You can find me on Zenkuda Official on Instagram, Zenkuda Soul Space on Facebook, and of course here every Monday night at 7. And this show is replayed on all podcast networks, Strong Island Television on YouTube, Zenkuda on YouTube, and any place you watch your podcast, just ask for Georgia Rose, The Soul Space with Georgia Rose. And if you want a reading about Pisces energy, Neptune energy, or anything in your chart, zenkuda.com. Thanks, guys.